Camera. Lights, camera, action.
Lights, camera, action. This is on.
Ron, we're live. We are live. One of the comments was saying there's going to be a day where Nathan does not press record.
I saw that on your stream as well, and it agitates me.
Yeah,
dude,
it could happen.
I'm just making sure. I'm like looking at this. I'm like double checking, triple checking.
Yeah, dude, if it happens, I'm going to be fuming.
And the worst part about it is you just can't re-record because
you're so pissed off, so angry.
Because
you're in a bad state of mind.
We probably said so much good stuff.
And you can't repeat it.
You can't repeat it.
It's just in the moment.
That's inauthentic.
Oh, man. Or something's going to happen, like the SD card's going to be full.
No, you know what scares me about this? Oh, no. Dude,
no.
It's got 1 bar left of battery.
So we can't do it?
No, we can, because there's only 3 bars. I think we can get 1 more podcast, but this is going to have to be a bit shorter, I think. Maybe an hour.
Oh, my God, dude. So this is the type of thing that's going to happen.
I know. That was what I was scared. I thought I was going to last on 2 batteries a little bit further, but it's not.
Oh, my God. We're screwed.
All right, so let's just jump into it, I think.
Okay. Episode 4. Welcome to another episode. Episode 4, Broken by Concepts. I'm your host, Curtis. This is my guest. Nathan Mott.
I'm
He's
the
just
guest.
a guest. I'm the host here. I have full control, full autonomy.
It is on your channel, so I guess theoretically it is. But I'm the recurring guest. You have 0 other people interested in coming on the podcast except for me every single time.
That's correct. So that's fine.
Wait, is there a host and co-host, right?
Yeah, just co-host.
But let's say you're the host, I'm the co-host.
There's no host. Co-host is co-host and co-host.
So we're just both co-hosts.
Yeah.
But I remember the first episode, you said you're the host and I'm the co-host.
It's just a power move.
But can't I be the host and you can be the co-host?
It's possible. But I wanted to... It's just a power move, I'm setting the tone in this relationship.
I was quite upset about that, to be honest. It always makes me look like I'm the, the little man.
Fine.
Curtis'
You can
big
do it
channel.
next time. You do it next time. So...
Right, so we have some bones to pick, Curtis, I think, beforehand.
What bones to pick?
Yeah, we
With
have.
Who?
Well,
With what?
Our conflict. We have to talk to I think we have to let the listeners know about the conflict we've had this week.
Oh, you mean about the audio?
Okay, yeah. So there's 2. You have yours with me, your bone to pick with me, and I have a bone to pick with you, right?
I don't know about this. Or do I know about this?
You do know about this, so
The Lux pick.
potentially. So me and Curtis did a duo stream yesterday.
Yeah.
And Curtis was like, because I was doing on my main account. I'm like trying to get back to Master Grandmaster, right? And Curtis is like, oh, don't worry. Like before we stream, I'll try hard. Like I'm gonna try really hard. Yeah.
Well, this is before I streamed.
Yeah, before you stream.
Yeah,
so my expectations is already like we're gonna go.
4-0, 5-0,
5-0, right? Game 1 happens.
No, we win that game, don't we?
We won that game, but you dial level 1 as Pantheon.
That's correct.
Which did upset me. Game 2, they pick Zoe. And you have this brilliant idea pop in your head.
No, that was game 3.
No, that was game 2. We played 4 games.
That's why we played Lucian.
Anyway, it popped into your head. Lux is a counter pick to Zoe.
It is a counter pick.
And, okay, you know the way that I view this? I thought about this as well. You can counter that one. What are the rest of the champions on the map? The other 4?
Yeah, it doesn't do it. It's
Okay.
terrible into the rest of the champs in that game.
So it aggravates me.
Okay.
People that play for lane, I know
Yeah.
I know you're a little solid. You think you're like a challenger player, like
Yeah.
playing in like Smurfing in Diamond
Yeah.
2. And then the worst part about it is we had a terrible experience in Clash 3 weeks ago with your Lux as well. So already in my head.
Did.
So I was just infuriated. And then I'm just like sitting there watching you like miss cues and like a team fight happens and Kha'Zix.
My laning phase was nearly flawless, by the way.
Okay, that's great. But you do nothing after that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay, let me defend myself here.
go ahead.
I am a streamer.
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Is that what you're going to call yourself? You're not a YouTuber. You're not a streamer.
No, I am a streamer now.
Okay.
So I remember I was in Champ Select and I looked at Twitch chat and I saw Zoe and we didn't have enough. No, I needed an AP pick. I couldn't go an AD pick that game.
Okay.
Right? So my options were like a boring Syndra pick. Okay. It was
But does that work?
Rise. Lissandra's not that good into Zoe. Not good. What else was there? There was like barely any, and I don't even have all champs on that account. So my options were basically like Syndra. I'm not playing Ori in that either. I mean, that's just okay. This is where we need to. This is the conflict session.
Okay.
I don't want to play my best champions at Diamond
Because it's too easy.
It literally is. I feel like I have zero fun. I feel like if I play Oriana in Diamond, it feels like I'm a high school student going to like primary school and beating up young kids.
Okay.
So I don't want to play Ori no matter what. Like, I genuinely feel bad. The next champs, like, I mean, there's TF and stuff, but I don't like playing TF and Diamond sometimes as well because it feels like on stream I just want to carry. I don't want to support bad players in a way.
You can carry on Twist of Fate.
It's not a 1v9 champ. It's like a support. Like, I get other people ahead.
Okay.
And I want to be the center of
Yeah,
attention.
get me
you know?
ahead, dude. I'm playing Hecarim. Dude, Hecarim, Twist of Fate's a
Okay,
good ass combo.
That's true. I could make you look good.
Okay.
Maybe I could have done that.
You know?
So I think what I need to do next time on stream is, or we need to talk about either we got to play champs that are both good to watch on stream,
Yep.
that are fun for me to play.
You can't tell me Lux is good to watch and fun to play.
I think it is.
You enjoy playing Lux.
I do, but the champ's just not good into certain compositions, and that's my bad. I will accept reality that was a bad Lux game. If I was versing low threat from the jungle, then I think that game's completely different. Plus, I think also Zoe Hecarim. I mean, Hecarim Lux is not good because it's too much scaling.
It's terrible. I agree.
You need to be early pressure with me. Like,
Yeah,
if you're playing Rek'Sai, Lee Sin,
that's what I
Elise,
have
or
to
any of those champs, I think it's actually okay. But
Actually,
you're playing
Rek'Sai,
Hecarim.
Rek'Sai would have been good that game.
Rek'Sai would have been very good. But anyway,
Anyways, the champion still sucks at the end of the day. It's
that's
a bad
my bad.
solo queue champion.
And I did forget.
And no, because the worst part about it is because I had that bad experience. If you played
Yeah.
Lux right there and we didn't have the experience beforehand,
No, but I also feel like I actually somewhat forgot that you were tryharding on that account.
you
That
forgot.
slipped my mind.
And we
It
talked
did slip my
about it.
mind. We did talk about that.
We emphasized
No,
it.
next I'll do another stream.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow night,
Okay.
and then we will try hard duo, and
Alright.
I won't play Lux. I'll
Alright.
only play good champs
All right.
and make it up to
I'm
you. And
gonna
we'll go
hold-
5-0.
I'm going to hold your word to that, Cody,
Yeah.
right?
And then I've said it on the podcast now, so I can't go back on my word.
Yes. I got
So
it on
my
camera.
bone to pick with you. This
Okay.
is the most exciting bit.
This is... Yeah, go on.
So last podcast, I was so angry at Nathan
During or after?
after.
Yeah, okay.
So I went into the way we do our podcast is that Nathan edits them. He like syncs the audio with the camera and stuff like that, and then I do the thumbnail, I do the timestamps and all that stuff. So when I'm doing the timestamps, I have to like watch the whole thing basically, and then segment it. Now during the process of watching the podcast, I proceeded to watch Nathan try and stroke the microphone as if it was a sexual object.
that word stroke. I was
You're playing or stroking or whatever the hell you were doing with it,
Yeah.
and it was ruining the audio. You were doing this. You were like doing this motion on the like. I don't want to touch it. I think I actually did touch it, so that's gonna make a sound. So Nathan was like stroking it.
Okay.
He was literally holding the microphone
Okay.
on this silver bit here.
Yeah.
Which is you don't want to touch that at all because that's where it just screws it up. It gives
Yeah.
feedback and things like that. He was touching the head of the mic. He was like picking at the top of it, like touching it,
There was like little hair strands coming out. I wanted to...
and he was like, and
I was in the zone.
notice how there's like this little cord here, right? He was shoving the cord into his leg, like as if it's I don't know, like resting the cord and making it on like a 90-degree angle on his leg. And all this I was literally getting so angry. I was so angry when I was editing that.
Okay.
I literally made a note on my computer saying, so because Nathan went to bed, I had to do it late at night, right? I was doing it like midnight, and I made a note, like sticky notes on my computer. I was saying, make sure you roast Nathan for not holding the microphone properly. I literally made a note, so I had to remember to roast him. And so we had a conflict session. We had to sit down.
You woke up. You know that she woke up?
I literally woke up. The
thing you
first thing I said.
Nathan, I was so close to not even uploading that
I
yesterday.
was close
Can
to
you
not
believe
uploading.
that? Like, literally, like, in the comments, like, please, like, listeners, Curtis was potentially not going to upload.
I was gonna tarnish the
It wasn't
podcast.
even that bad.
Yeah, but Nathan, I'm a perfectionist in
like,
my videos.
You know what? I actually could be... Okay, but I do understand mistakes. I can accept mistakes where, like, you accepted the Lux pick.
Is this even in properly?
Huh? Yeah, it is in. It's definitely in
That's
because
in.
the audio levels are popping
Okay.
up. It's, as long as the audio levels are popping up.
But what does yours look like? Does yours look the same as mine? Like, has that little gap?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, don't touch it.
It's all right. It's all right.
Alright, so anyway, we're podcast rookies, and I'm trying to level up again and
so
add a little bit of
this-
professionalism here.
This
okay?
whole thing, I'm so conscious of
Good.
the microphone. Okay, it's going to be perfect audio levels.
No, because this is going to be your standard. It's like in League of Legends, you have a standard of
That's
play.
right.
This is the standard of the podcast.
Okay.
I want the people who listen to have a world class audio experience.
Listening experience.
As good as we can with these handheld mics.
I agree.
Okay?
I think that's what we should
That's what
strive,
we strive for,
and
yeah.
we will do it, and it starts right now.
This is it.
Okay.
No more amateur. It's not amateur hour here.
Okay, we're professionals.
Professionals. I'm
We got the lights, we got the camera,
lights, camera, action.
we got the couch.
This is not a casting couch. This is a podcast couch.
That's right. This is the podcast couch.
Okay. Got that out of our system.
Yeah, this
Good.
is good.
I feel better now.
This
It's
is
like,
that's
it's like when you go to like the psychiatrist.
It's a therapy
It's
session.
a therapy session.
This is what these
This is
podcasts
like
can be.
marriage counseling, you know?
This is what these sessions can be. This podcast, it's our therapy sessions for the week.
We should call this podcast episode 4 therapy session with Nick.
And I think it can help other people as well, because if they got bones to pick with their people.
Gotta be
that are-
open, man.
especially during quarantine.
Dude, actually reminds me of Direwolves.
Yeah.
When it was our conflict sessions. Oh my god. I don't even know if we should talk about it. This is too much.
Yeah, we shouldn't talk about this.
I think we
stuff.
should touch on it.
Okay, what do you want to say about it?
So, I can't believe this happened.
Is this 2017, 2018?
Dude, this happened 2017,
But
2018.
we started the team.
We kind of
conflict
stopped to do it in
sessions.
2019. But 2017,
2017,
2018,
yeah.
we had these things in Direwolves. This is actually where it came from. And then other teams in Oceania actually took it. We called them conflict sessions. So where conflict sessions actually started was in 2017, it was so toxic, the environment. And there was so much pent up anger and frustration and toxicity. And
We had very high expectations.
the expectation of play.
We were playing 3 scrim sets, 9 scrims a day.
We were 9 scrims a day, and you were expected to play solo queue.
As well after that.
There was like peer pressure not to have a girlfriend.
Yep.
Like there was so much. It was like an elitist environment. That was like
Yep.
the most elite environment we've probably ever had.
Yeah.
Probably as nearly as elite as you can nearly get. And we there was so much anger and frustration and stuff that we had to literally but like, because if we didn't manage it, it would explode. So the theory was that we should sit down in a circle and give that opportunity to people to open up and literally roast someone, essentially. That's basically what it was.
Is roast the right word?
I mean, it was like, okay, at the end of the day, it wasn't done in a healthy way. It was like,
No.
this is how you make me feel.
Yeah.
You did this pissed me off so much. That's it. There was no like, but I can kind of understand where you're coming from, or I understand how you would make that mistake. It was like, you did this pissed me off. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
It wasn't done in a healthy way.
No, it wasn't. Sorry, we always try to make compromises, right? That's what we wanted to get to. So it's like, okay, you feel this way, I feel this way. Like, we may or may not understand each other, but can we come to a compromise?
Yeah, but when did that ever happen?
But that's what we were trying to do, right? But we just weren't experienced enough in it. I mean, we were a bunch of like 21-year-old kids and stuff
And
like that.
what we realized was that the conflict sessions actually made us worse.
Worse, yeah.
Because if you
We would
had...
always be thinking about it, and it would just start taking away from the game, and then 9 scrims a day plus doesn't help, and then we're all in this tiny environment.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally a pressure cooker waiting to explode.
Well, the way we realize you got to view sometimes a season of league or a split is that it's like the honeymoon period of a relationship, right? So when you enter a relationship, right, the first 3 months, 2 months, would you say is the honeymoon period?
Yeah.
You can get away, like there's no conflict, there's all happy,
months, yeah.
sunshine and rainbows. You're just super excited to be with each other, and you're all good.
Like little things will happen, but they won't bug you that
Or
much.
people like you ignore, you look over them.
you look over
like
them,
that
yeah.
might somewhat annoy you, but you look over it because
Yeah.
you're like in love with them, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then time goes on, and then
Something annoys you a little bit.
it gets a little bit more. Now, you have 2 options at that point. You can address the issue because you care about that relationship, or that, we'll say, use it as a relationship analogy. You care about that relationship long term, and you really want to create a healthy relationship. Or you ignore the issue, and it's like you just try and continue the sunshine and rainbows for as long as possible to get the max performance. So the theory was, what we realized is because the season is actually so short and the splits are so short, a lot of the time, if you want the most success in that specific season, it's actually better sometimes to ignore the issue and put it to the side. Just band-aid here. Let's put a band-aid here. Emergency band-aid. And then you get through the season, and then you use the off-season to actually do some real healing, and maybe that's where roster swaps come in and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you never get past. So obviously, what is it? The 4 stages of teams. It's forming, norming, storming. And then performing.
It was something like that. I can't remember.
Forming, that's honeymoon phase. Norming, yeah, we're starting to get things. And then storming, that's where huge conflict happens.
Yeah.
You would never get past the storming stage.
No.
So we tried to keep forming, norming as long as possible, but that's never sustainable.
Never
long-term.
sustainable. It only
It's
lasts for a
impossible.
certain amount of time.
Even Band-Aid solutions.
And that's also why we always boomed around week 7, week 8.
Yeah, week 7, week 8.
Week 7, week 8, in every split of every year.
Even though we're winning every single game.
Even sometimes we're undefeated.
Yeah.
We would always go through a huge area of conflict around week 7, week 8, no matter what.
No matter what.
Because of people getting pissed off, everyone getting on each other's nerves. Something would always happen. And it would explode, dude. Things would explode no matter what. So what I realized though, in hindsight, I wasn't a good coach. I was only still trying to figure everything out. What I realized is probably one of the biggest principles, if I were to take away, look back in hindsight, one of my favorite quotes is what's the thing? It's what you tolerate becomes accepted. Or something like that. How's that work?
Yeah, that's basically the premise of it.
What you tolerate becomes accepted. So if you really care about bringing about a specific environment, or even bringing about a healthy relationship, whether it's just 2 people or a team of 5, you got to be on top of things, incredibly aware of what's being said from day one. So if you see someone...
very clear boundaries.
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 It's all about boundaries. So if you see one player say something quite... you don't believe that to be a healthy way to communicate. And that was on day 1 or day 2.
Even though if it's good-hearted, that's the thing, because I find things slide easy when it's okay, I understand where he's coming from, but there has to be... I always like to use the electric fence analogy, right?
Yeah.
This is the line. Maybe he's not exactly at the fence, but he can't even be getting close to the fence at all, and you just catch it straight away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it actually helps long-term because you're... players or other people respect the honesty and transparency and you being brutally honest at the start. It actually makes that person feel more angry at you if you hold on to it for 2 months and then you say something. It's why didn't you just call me out on this at day 1 then? Why did you let it happen for 2 months? And then as soon as that conversation happens, trust is gone, and trust is very borderline impossible to get back.
Very hard to get back.
In my opinion, it's borderline impossible.
Yep.
In my opinion. So you can't let it get to that point.
The importance of tough conversations.
I love that, dude. Tough conversations. That's one of my favorite.
I think that relationships are all built around tough conversations. Very solid relationships there's no such thing as sunshine and rainbows 24/7. That's not how human interactions
tough conversations is the key to success, honestly.
I think
no, not even in in anything.
In anything. Teams,
any
relationships.
high-performing environment or high-performing relationship or anything all revolves around the willingness to have tough conversations. Me saying something that is incredibly uncomfortable to say, knowing that in the long run, we have absolute clarity, we're aligned, and you know that I respect you because I'm telling you the truth here.
But these are my boundaries.
But but these are my boundaries, exactly. Actually, I just want to quickly touch on this. As an overarching, I guess if I were to pinpoint the single most important concept for high-performing environments, high-performing teams, alignment.
Alignment towards the goal, the mission.
Everything.
Everything.
Every element of the team.
Your schedule.
Way you view the game.
Yep.
The way you see a game getting won from start to finish. The way you want to play out the early game. The way you want to play out a laning phase. Because the jungle should be aligned on how trades go in a specific mid-matchup. So where a lot of issues form in competitive play or even in solo QC is the jungler has preconceived notions or assumptions about how a mid-matchup will be played out. But the mid laner has a different idea of how that mid lane matchup gets played out. So then what happens, if the jungle or the mid lane don't get aligned and actually talk about what their differences are and what actually happens in that mid lane 2v2 or that mid lane 1v1, then conflict happens because then the mid lane is like, why the hell didn't you gank? It's a free gank. And then the jungle's like, well, no, I just thought that I can't do anything until level 6. But then he's like, no, there's kill threat like level 3. If you don't come here, then my lane's over. And then you have that conversation, which all would have been saved if you get into you have the tough conversations, you get into those the specifics, and you get absolutely aligned. Your job as a coach in any environment, in my opinion, starts with alignment, growing absolute alignment across the board
with the players.
And that's why your job as a coach is you're like kind of like a composer of an orchestra. You got to get all the timing together, and you dictate.
You
the
have all
timing.
the pieces, and you're trying to make them work together. But at the end of the day, the orchestra themselves, they need to work things out between themselves, because, and the difference thing with esports is that you're not playing the game as a coach. You can't even communicate to them during the game.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, I would say alignment between players is more important than the coach.
It's hard to say what's more important, but yes, players number one, because they're in the game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the alignment between the coaching staff and the players is also important because they help create strategy.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to draft phase, if the players aren't aligned with the coach, then what happens is that the coach says to ban things or pick things which may not make sense with what the player wants to verse in a game. So it gets very messy. Now, that leads me to the question, how do you bring about alignment? Right? How do you bring about alignment in a relationship or a team environment or a duo partner? How do you bring about alignment? That's where you got to get into the reviews. You got to ask good quality questions.
It's like, where do we want to be? What do we want to be, like a world championship team? Do we want to be the best team of all time? Do we want to win the NLCS? Do we want to just, okay, like these are the conversations.
Do you just want to collect a paycheck here?
You have to be very honest with yourself with this sort of stuff. Because if you're not sure, how can you expect your teammate to know what you expect, you know? And it's like, well, you would think, well, everyone wants to be a world champion. Not really.
There's probably only been like, in my experience coaching, there's probably only been like one or two players that I could genuinely see wanted to be a world champion.
Like they would say it with conviction, but it's all based on actions. You could say,
I love that word,
actions.
Conviction.
Absolutely. Say it with conviction. I will be a world champion.
I love that, man. That word is so powerful. And you can see it straight away. There's a difference between when someone says something with conviction.
Absolutely.
It's the most powerful thing, dude.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love that Michael Gervais, man.
Yeah.
How he talks about, you got to be so certain on your own personal philosophy. And the reason being is because it allows you to speak and act with conviction.
With conviction, yeah.
If you don't know what you're about as a person, then how are you going to act daily and speak daily with conviction? You got to know what you're about, man. If you don't know what you're about, then what are you doing?
Someone like that, let's use the Michael Jordan example. We like to talk about it on the podcast because we watched The Last Dance.
I love Michael Jordan.
You know, people like, I would say like Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen. I mean, they don't have the same, I would say, conviction of just being, I'm just going to dominate my opponent. I mean, they're competitive by nature, but Michael Jordan being that, it actually lifts other people up. And then they sort of follow. It's like, oh, okay, he wants to be like a world. That means if I'm playing with him, I need to be at his standard. That
is the amazing thing about leaders in any team environment, though, is they bring other people up around them. They're an energy source. They're like a beacon of light where it's like, wow, that guy, he's not talking about it. He's like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Absolutely.
He is about it.
Yeah.
You see it through his actions. You see it through his intensity.
5 a.m. gym, training 3 times a day.
Like for those of you who haven't watched Last Stand, and part of it, he talks about Michael Jordan, how he used to go to the gym before they start, like at 5 a.m. before they went to practice in the morning. And he basically like said, look, if you didn't go to his gym sessions,
he offered the players, if you can come to my, to my house,
to my personal gym to work out with me in the morning. And if the players didn't take him up on it, you would hear about it all day.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan would be on you.
But again, it wasn't a requirement at all. You didn't have to.
But it is on you.
But the players knew it's like, it's actually better for me to just go there because in the long run, it's just going to be better. My day's going to be better.
My day's going to be better because Michael Jordan's not going to be on my ass all day, you know? I love that. But there's an element of it, you're right. Like, great players bring up everyone around them.
They also need to be incredibly competent themselves. At the end of the day, a leader, I mean, they don't have to be the best, but they have to be able to. Best case scenario is they're out.
Yeah, they have to. Ideally, they have to be the best.
Yeah.
Because that's how it even worked back in the day in terms of, watch those movies like Troy. where there's the best soldier and everyone
Achilles.
respects him
Yeah.
and they say something and everyone listens.
Yeah.
It's because they're
The way they look at them, the way they listen, it's like, okay, he's saying
because they're so
this
competent.
shit.
I can believe this guy. This
Yeah.
guy is going to. This guy's gonna help me, achieve things, save my town or save my village, or even just like in sporting, gonna help me win. I believe in this guy, and that ties into the radio effect. I want to talk about the radio effect. That's cool.
Well, you got to talk about who's Radio first.
Okay.
So, I mean, Radio is a legend in the O scene. A lot of people may not know about it, especially newcomers, but he was by far the best player in OS. I mean, when O servers came out, instant rank 1 by a long shot, like 400 LP ahead of everyone.
He was really good. He had NA offers in season 2, didn't he? Was it 3?
I believe so, yeah. That was the rumor.
The rumours, he had NA offers.
But he wanted to stay in Australia.
But he was studying law.
Yeah,
in
he was
Australia.
focused on his career rather
Very
than league.
career-focused guy.
But yeah, when you would play against this guy in solo queue, when I was grinding Rising, I would instantly always be taking the benefit that he might do a bad play, but for some reason I'm always thinking he must know something, he must be doing something here, and then I play worse because of it.
Because you're playing reacting to him.
Everyone, and we would always say in scrims, it's like, is this like, what's going on bot? Like, is this just the radio effect? Like, are they, because he basically made you play worse because he was so confident in the way you play, like champs like Lucian, Kate and stuff like that. And it was,
Well, that extends to other
and then,
games.
but then he brought up all his teammates instantly as well, because they had expectations.
If you have radio on your team, you play better knowing that it's how
He's
you're
going
going
to
to
be this consistency. If I just play incredibly well, I can't lose.
Yeah.
And that's how Team Immunity was so dominant for so long,
I think that's the same with Michael Jordan. It's the same with Faker. It's like certain players that people play worse against them and people play better with them.
Yeah.
That's what we call the radio effect. I mean, only the OG OS players really understand
Yeah, they
that.
understand that.
Because
But
there's
everyone gets
never
that
been
point.
an OS player that dominant. I mean, the closest was Schoenfeld at his prime.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that close. Like, the gap between radio and everyone else was just unbelievable.
Especially in the ADC position.
In the 80 carry position. That was when the game was very 80 carry centric as well.
Yeah, like Double F got famous and all sort of stuff
Like
because around season 2, season 3.
Imp and stuff like that as well. And Uzi and stuff like that. Piglet. But, anyway. Michael Jordan, all those. So, yeah, there's a lot of, you can see how there's a lot of parallels between traditional sport and esports for sure. But we're only just starting to figure it out, though.
We will see these type of people. I mean, again, we have, again, it's hard to say because you don't really see too much about what goes on in Korean teams and Chinese teams because we don't really get to see their personality much because I don't speak the language, right? I mean, you hear things, but we'll see, I think, more of that, like the great players, the great leaders in the next probably decade of League of Legends, I'll say we're really just starting up now.
Do you think... Were you surprised Michael Jordan didn't become a coach? He didn't become a coach, did he?
He did do a little stint after,
but
the Bulls, but then he decided he just had to play again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess... I mean, it's hard to say.
Because the reason I'm asking is like... Faker
become a
Will
coach.
Faker become a coach?
It's interesting because the takeover thing makes it look like, the takeover world type video.
The world type
He's
video.
like positioned as a coach, right? Helping the next guy rise to the occasion and take over.
But just because you're a great player doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a very different
You
skill
need
set.
to still dedicate yourself to the craft. And I mean, again, the way that I view Michael Jordan moving to, like, he's just played as a player for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say burnt out of the game, but it's like...
He did kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
He was a little bit burnt.
Yeah.
From basketball.
Going into coaching and learning another whole skill set, I feel like that's something you would have to dedicate another good 10, 15 years to.
Well, it kind of shows because Steve Kerr, who was also on the Bulls, wasn't the best player, but became an amazing coach.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me to one of the topics I wanted to cover today. I've had this question asked quite often. I get this question asked: how do you become a coach?
Checking the battery. Yep, go on.
How's the battery going?
Yeah, well, it should be good still.
How do you become a coach? Because I briefly touched on how I became a coach, but that's just a very weird... That was just opportunistic. I was just lucky at the end of the day.
Coaches didn't really exist. I mean...
Yeah, coach... I don't even know what the hell a coach did back then. I just dicked around,
Okay, so the question is, how do you become a coach in 2020 in League of Legends?
Yeah, let's make it relevant to now. If you were, say, a random player, you were interested in esports, you're knowledgeable about the game, whatever, an analyst... How would you go about becoming a coach in a major league in your region? What steps would you take?
Okay.
I think you got to start with grassroots, right? Somehow.
Start working with like a lower amateur team. I mean, I think it goes back that. I think you need to play solo queue and you need to at least be
Diamond.
high diamond.
I get roasted for this every time, you know.
I mean, you and I share pretty strong opinions on this.
Every single time I say that a coach should be at least diamond, I get roasted. Because they always say, oh no, but there's all these other coaches out there that aren't. But
you would just simply be a better coach.
You'll be a better coach.
Yeah. Yes, you can maybe get away with it, but if we're going to be talking about some of the best, I mean, let's look at some examples.
Coma,
High
Elo,
in
even
Korea.
LS has got Grandmaster Peak in Korea,
There
and
you
LS
go.
was an incredibly smart of the game.
Who else? Kane for Liquid. He plays
All
the
the
NA
Korean
Challenger.
coaches, every Korean coach, they're all ex-pro players or high Elo players. Chinese and Korea, all of them. Not a single one. Look, they're all ex-pro players.
So
JDG right now, it's Home. He was an ex-pro mid laner, I believe.
yeah.
Um,
Who was the coach with that one with IG?
they're ex-StarCraft pros. They're either ex-StarCraft pros or StarCraft coaches,
Yeah.
which they were already very good at StarCraft and extremely good at gaming, or they were high elo in League of Legends or ex-pro players in League of Legends.
Can we think of examples of great coaches in League right now that aren't high elo?
I don't know about
Daylor was never.
What about G2's coach?
Grabs.
Grabs. I don't know about
I'm
his
pretty
solo
sure
rank.
he...
Is he diamond?
No, what, Grabs wasn't he like a former pro player?
I don't know.
Amateur player?
I don't know about his
I'm
history,
pretty
actually.
sure he was good at the game.
Okay.
Oh, he's good at the game, yeah. Yeah, he's high elo, yeah.
We'll probably see in the comments after Curtis and Nathan, you idiots.
Yeah, I know. We
But
get,
anyway,
we get caught out sometimes.
I mean, who else is
Can
there?
we got to think here.
In other regions?
Yeah.
Who we got? Who are the most known coaches?
Yamato Cannon.
Yamato, yeah. I mean, what is he? I swear I
must
saw a
have been
picture of
diamond.
him was like plat at least.
Okay.
But even then, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Yamato Cannon is interesting though because he is probably the first coach. When I think of a coach that doesn't just think of the in-game and has a large influence outside of the game and outside of the game aspects, I do think of Yamato Cannon.
Okay.
He's the most emotionally, I would say, has a lot of emotional intelligence.
Okay, we need to actually start differentiating
we
between
do.
a coach and an analyst.
Okay, let's talk about Kaiser then.
Kays.
Because I like to use practical examples here.
Yeah.
Kays might even actually watch this podcast, you know. So, in order to be okay, we need to go back here. So,
What is a coach, Curtis, in League of Legends?
Okay, let's start there.
What's your definition of a coach?
head coach, there's different types of coaches. There's
Okay.
strategic coaches,
Yep.
there's head coaches, there's drafting coaches, there's individual lane coaches, and then there's like analysts. Okay? So let's actually start at the top. Let's start bottom and work our way up.
Okay.
Analysts at the bottom, in my opinion.
An analyst's job is to collect as much data as possible from as many regions as possible.
And opponents that they verse.
And opponents the team that you're working
And
with.
even
verse.
some of them from potentially information from data from solo queue.
Package it up and deliver it to the players in something
And
that
no,
beneficial
I
to
think
them.
to both the players and the coaching staff to better to complement and aid their strategy making
Yep.
and to try and figure out the meta and be ahead of the meta and scout opponents and better prepare for opponents and things like that. That's what an analyst's job is very important in the higher levels
Yeah.
for sure.
Theory crafting items.
Theory
adapting
crafting builds
and
as well,
meta.
yeah. A lot of like very nitty gritty, detail oriented stuff. Then above that, I would say there's the lane coaches, right? The lane coaches where generally it's high elo players or ex-pro players from specific roles who work individually with the pro players to refine their matchup knowledge. We actually did this quite a lot in Direwolves where we had 1v1s all the time. Like our teammates would actually 1v1 each other to figure out how matchups worked and how trading patterns actually worked. Okay, so there's that. There's actually lane coaches. And I actually think what's actually going to happen, lane coaches are going to be more important than ever. Individual coaches.
We just don't have that.
They barely exist now.
Does every single team need a individual coach for every single one of their players?
They should 100%.
How crazy is it that we probably don't have that at all? I actually don't think any team in the world has an individual
4
coach for every
5.
player.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions and say that they don't, but I would say it's unlikely.
Very unlikely.
But if you look at traditional sport, they have look at NFL quarterback. There's a quarterback coach, and you look at every role.
Even the quarterback coach has a bunch of other people working under him.
Just the whole team just for the quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's like different roles. They all have teams for those specific positions. And then the head coach gets information from all, like, he's that orchestrates this whole thing in a way. So that leads me to the next one. Above lane coaches, there's
well, then you got strategic
coaches,
Yep.
which, yeah, again, mainly around kind of similar to drafting coaches in a way, but they can sometimes do draft and macro oriented stuff. They can only do macro because you sometimes have a draft stuff. But I would say they largely, again, watch a lot of VODs from around the world, try and figure out how the games are getting played the most optimal way. Probably as well helping figure out how that team can execute their team's identity better with specific picks or doing certain things like with warding or invades, playing around objectives, team fighting, that sort of thing. Very like macro-oriented stuff. Jungle pathing as well. A lot of jungle pathing.
Yep.
And then you've got draft coaches do.
So strategic coaches are different from draft coaches.
I mean, strategic coaches can do draft as well, but they actually exist ones that exist that are purely draft.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
So draft people come in and help with draft, and then there's the head coach. And the head coach, you need to be extremely knowledgeable about every aspect of the game. In my opinion, you need to have a decent amount of knowledge about the small micro details about how lanes play out, how pressure, how threat works. And this is actually why, in my opinion, the best head coaches are ex-pro players, or at least very high elo players, because they understand all these minute details like threats, like how vision impacts the way you can play the lane, all the small micro details of the lane. Then they also have to have a great knowledge about how team compositions work as a whole, how they fight. They have to understand game pace. They have to understand jungle pathing. They have to understand scaling and how it feels to be in this game. How, I guess, micro combinations between mid jungle 2v2s and bot lane 3v3s with 8 jungle. Like, they have to have a very, very solid knowledge of the game. Now, it doesn't mean that they're no way going to have the same amount of knowledge as laners or lane coaches or sometimes even strategic coaches. But what differentiates a head coach is that they need to be able to figure out what's important, what's not important, and make the executive decision in a way. Like, okay, I can see where you're coming from here. This information about how LPL are playing this, I can see how this is important in terms of knowing about the opponent we're going to verse on the weekend. But then they have to make the executive call saying, like, all right, given the way we're playing games out, what is best for us and our players, given my take on the meta, given all this information, this is how I think we should navigate this week of scrims. This is how I think we should where we should look to improve as a team. And this is how I think we should navigate this week's game versus X team. So they're in charge of overall direction and improvement of the team. They're in charge of the team's identity and creating and forming and actually deciding and solidifying that team's identity. And they're also in charge of gathering all the information from all these resources, from all these analysts, and then finalizing the end call. So you've got to have emotional intelligence. You've got to be extremely confident. You've got to be great at communicating with the players and with the coaching staff, making sure everyone's listened to and heard and respected, but also not coming across as egotistical so people don't dislike you and that sort of thing. It's a very, very... Head coach is an incredibly stressful role.
And you need to be good at the game.
So,
of all those roles you just listed, which ones need to be high elo? High diamond plus.
Lane coaches have to be higher than diamond. Lane coaches...
They need to be challenger.
They need to be like at least Grandmaster plus.
Yep.
So you got lane coaches, highest elo.
Yep.
I think analysts don't need to be high elo at all.
Okay, but again, I would always keep coming back. The higher, the better.
The higher, the better. But I just want some extremely nerdy, geeky.
He loves numbers.
He loves numbers and is willing to crunch the numbers.
Yep.
And get into the details. And do things that the average person.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not looking at
Screw that. They understand how the actual analysts ideally as well understand how the Riot coding works.
Yeah.
Like, they actually understand how numbers work and how. because I actually had help from a guy. Shout out to Hailfire. This guy actually helped me with my itemization video, and he understands, how the actual coding of the stats works, and the breakpoints and the item efficiency, and how things work. Like the details that the average player just knows through intuition.
God, I just don't care about that at all. I just tell me what items to build and I'll build them.
I mean, I actually really I've actually learned a lot this year about it. That's something I now know a lot about that I had no idea about, because I was just a player and I was all intuition. But now I actually understand why things work. But so in my opinion, they don't need to play as much solo queue. Don't need to be high. I think at least gold though. Gold would be kind of like the
okay.
If I'm getting,
it shows some sort of commitment to the game.
I mean, surely your knowledge micro aside can just get you to gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really want to get told anything from anyone who's silver.
Okay.
Like, you don't even have to. You can literally like roll your head over the keyboard and still get silver. Like still get gold if like you have good knowledge of the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you can literally barely use your hands.
Okay.
No flame. That's a bit toxic.
Because a lot of your, but again, everyone's a part of their journey. So
Everyone's part of their journey.
If you're currently bronze or silver,
But what I'm saying is that an analyst should have a lot of information about the game.
Yeah.
So they should build perfectly. They should have a very good idea about like, champion identity and that sort of thing. So like, surely that information will get them to gold.
Yes, I would say that should be a minimum expectation.
Definitely. And then what else is there? I think strategic coaches need to be diamond.
Yeah.
And draft coaches.
So strategic watchers.
Draft coaches don't need to be high.
Strategic coaches are watching a lot of VODs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, draft coaches ideally as well, diamond, because they
yeah.
need to understand the way the micro works. They need to understand the impact of those picks. But what the strategic coaches actually understand better than everyone else, and the draft coaches, is that they understand how team comps fight. They understand that the synergy. I don't like using that word synergy, but just like
they can
coherence.
visualize how something's going to play out.
Yeah, they can visualize how fights and how skirmishes are going to play out, and like they understand those things. And to be more specific, right? You're going to have compositions sometimes where you've got like your whole team composition wants to walk forward. So they understand, okay, if the enemy team comp all wants to walk forward and like walk into us, if we have very good disengage and zone control champions and champions that can actually control choke points and disengage very well, it's going to be very difficult for them to get a decent fight. It's going to be great for us. So they understand like little things like that, which actually mean a lot when it comes to competitive.
Is there a place for... So we've talked about a lot of coaches, all about the game. There's obviously people that have come into the scene. We spoke a little bit about that CLG one that came
Weldon.
in for... Yeah, like people like Weldon and stuff who are more focused on like the psychology, teamwork sort of stuff. Obviously we had Jonathan Brown for performance director. Who, there's the Fabian guy for Excel. Is there a place for those type of people in teams, and how do you think that they help a team get better?
Yeah, I think those people are important. Not for amateur teams though, obviously at the highest level.
Yep.
But
so people with traditional sports backgrounds who study sports science.
But my bone to pick with those sorts of teams though is that shit's useless if you're not sticking with the same roster for a lot extended period of time.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking to change your roster every single year, then a lot of your work's basically rendered useless, because the effects of that sort of work doesn't come into play. Like it takes you months and months and months to create the good habits and to get aligned, and which the results or the actual effect of that sort of stuff won't really come into play.
Well, the thing that Jonathan didn't like is that the way that esports teams viewed these type of people were coming as firefighters. X player hates this player, X player's not getting along with X player, fix it. But what those people need to come in to do is actually build the foundation from the get-go, so then we're not getting to those situations in the first place. Yeah,
because what generally happens is you got TSM here, conflict, there's fires everywhere, fire. TSM, hey, Weldon, we've got a few problems here, and we actually could really use a firefighter right now, and we've heard that you're available, you're in the area, do you mind coming down and putting out some fires? Sure, TSM. Give me your checkbook, whatever. They write a check. Weldon comes in
for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, a month. Puts out, Band-Aid solutions, or puts out the fires. But there's still embers. There's still embers everywhere.
They can get ignited real
They
quick.
get, and then TSM are like, oh, okay, cool, Weldon, thanks for coming.
Everything's looking pretty good now.
We're gonna
We're
say
winning
goodbye
some
to you.
scrims.
Sorry, Weldon. Weldon disappears and then fires again.
Yeah.
And then it's both it's not actually fulfilling or satisfying work for the performance directors themselves.
Yeah.
They know that it's just bullshit because that's not actually how you bring about a high performing environment. And the work that they do isn't meaningful in a short period of time. It's like, again, you could always bring it back to physical stuff like gym. There's no point going to the gym for a month and then not going again for 3 months and then coming back in a month when you feel a little bit unhealthy. It's a lifestyle. It's something you should do all the time. It's a consistency thing. That's what brings about results. It's a long term, right? You don't have to go crazy in a 1 month period. You know, take your time, do it bit by bit, and you slowly grow. Same thing with these concepts. It's like what Fabian's doing with Excel. Some great stuff there, like healthy lifestyles. You know, if working on all the 1%ers, making sure that the conversations are all high quality, and then so there's less conflict, and the chances of conflict happening and explosions and tilting is way lowered, and people actually have higher energy levels because their sleep's better, their schedule's better, all these sorts of things. Which actually reminds me, you know how with the Fabian thing, like the great thing about the performance directors, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see, what may happen. That's where the value lies.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's just say there's this performance director maybe had a background in, they really understood psychology and how to have very good quality conversation, which a lot of the time they do. That's what they're great at. So maybe they teach these principles, maybe get the players to ask certain types of questions to each other in review. They work on like the post-game review process because that's actually where our performance director was great. He realized that we were only getting like 20% of the learning off a post-game review. And what he tried to do was add more processes and ask better quality questions in that review process to get more learning out. Now, what happens is sometimes, even if you ask those questions or you have a really good quality review, you might actually not learn that much from that game. Maybe nothing, even if he didn't exist and he wasn't there, nothing would have changed. But in the long run, we're doing a lot of these scrims. The chances are that maybe that question or the way that conversation actually went about, you're learning something that never would have, that conversation never would have happened.
At game number 40. And you may have had 30 a whole week of nothing much happening, but now scrim number 45 on X Day, you ask a certain question or certain thing based on the process that you've learned from the performance director. Okay, all right, we're getting this now, guys. We're getting this. This is the way we should be doing things.
You know what that reminds me of is like, this is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to move in with you. It's the conversations that you don't have that's concerning.
Yeah.
So like for me and Nathan, we talk about a lot about surrounding yourself with good quality friends and good quality people. And why I enjoy living with Nathan specifically is, we're just sitting around the dinner table or we're sitting on the couch. It's not
planned. It's not like we're saying, all right, Curtis, now we're talking about philosophy here. Now we're talking about the games. It's like we're just having a chill conversation.
And then because I'm with Nathan and we're in the same vicinity, the chances are that we actually bump into each other and have a conversation about whatever is going to obviously increase. And yes, maybe 10 of those or 20 or 30 of those conversations are complete bullshit and nonsense.
Or maybe actually something we said at like conversation number 3 affects conversation. It's like, oh no, I mean, I always come back to that 30, 30, 40 rule.
That video never would have happened.
So many people I see in comments saying this video helped me so much to untilt. That would never have happened if, again, me and you...
It helped 120,000 people. That wouldn't have,
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, and that's the exact same thing with performance directors. It's the conversations that may happen that add value. And that's why a lot of people don't respect performance directors and these sports psychologists, is because you don't see the results.
It's like they come in, you don't see the results because they're not given enough time. And I mean, at the end of the day, the roster gets changed, so it's all gone. Mm-hmm. So I mean, so is that our conclusion from that? They're not useful right now in esports because, okay, I wouldn't say useful.
They're not useful.
I'll definitely say they're useful, but they're not
maximized.
Weighted to. It's like this. We just need this.
Well, I just think that we're getting like 10%. You're getting like 10-15% value out of them.
Yeah, rather than what you could do, because at the end of the day, Fabian Excel's want to do 3 roster changes, and then
Excel they're just going to swap their whole roster, and then whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it is that the coaching staff now have a bit of a mentor, and they actually learn a lot, which is good. Also why you want to keep the coaching staff,
and then they create the culture more. So the new player comes in. This is the way we do things. X organization.
That's actually why I believe that organizations should actually build around coaching staff.
rather than players
Or they should have, no, one player
and one coach.
and one coach.
Like
That's the best.
Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan.
Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan. It's even, what's the other one?
Bill Belichick, Tom Brady.
Yeah, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Like, there's certain coaches with players that gets me so excited.
Bill
to
Walsh, Joey Montana.
Oh my God, Bill Walsh, dude.
San Francisco 49. What's the book? Do a book recommendation.
Oh my
here,
God,
Curtis.
I haven't even told the podcast about that. This is, again, one of my biggest inspirations for coaching and just lifestyle, and up there with probably one of my biggest inspirations ever is the story of the coach of the San Francisco 49ers
NFL team.
in, what was it, in the 70s? 80s?
No, it would have been the 80s to 90s, 2000, because he retired in 2000.
The 80s, around probably the 80s.
80s, yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers were the worst sporting franchise in American history at the time, across all sports. Not even just NFL. They were the worst, the bottom of the barrel. Zero fans, worst performing, everything. Bad players, bad coaching stuff, everything. They hired this guy, Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh came in to that organization and they won a Super Bowl 2 years later, didn't they? It was 2 years.
Literally 2 years.
2 years later, from the poorest, the worst, no money, no fans, a terrible brand to follow, and they won a Super Bowl 2 years later. This guy, and it tells the story, I think the book's called Bill Walsh. I can't remember off the tip of my tongue.
Pin it in the comment.
I'll probably try and pin it in
the
the
YouTube
comment.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the book we're talking about.
And damn, man, this guy inspired the hell out of me. He took control of every aspect of that organization, from the way the receptionist greeted people in the organization to how the people who looked after the groundskeepers who looked after the grass, to the marketing people, to the coaches, to the players. He had this is where, like, the standard of performance. He brought about a standard of performance across the organization. So the organization became a top quality organization.
They were a huge unit working together at all times. And again,
he was the conductor.
Anyone you would interact with in that organization had a standard performance.
Standard
again,
performance.
The receptionist, the groundsperson, like the ground. I think, wasn't it the 49ers ground was known to be the best ground
the best ground in the NFL
of all America.
Everyone had the best, like every aspect of that organization, they had to be the best. And that he had full autonomy. He said when he came in, he's like, I got to have full control. And he picked up this crazy. He scouted players.
The first year was a disaster. Still, like, he was doing this for the first year, but then the
first year they had no results, and
Yeah.
the second year they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was telling, and it tells this story, the ups and downs, how he did it, his philosophy on coaching and life, and he worked so hard that he got, like, he's dead. He actually died quite early.
He died early
because he was so unhealthy. He worked ridiculous. He slept on the floor of his office. He just had a bed in his office. He would just, like, a mattress. He would just sleep in his office and then, like, go back to work the next day. He would put unbelievable hours. We're talking, like, 20-hour days, day in, day out.
There was nothing else he was doing but thinking about how could the San Francisco 49ers be better across
and
all
they won
aspects
3
of
Super Bowls,
organizations.
didn't they? Or what they had? They won, like, a lot in a short period of time.
They did, yeah. I can't remember the stats.
So they became one of the most dominant, NFL teams
They're
ever.
a celebrated team, yeah, absolutely.
Off that, famous San Francisco. And it just gets me excited thinking about it too. But anyway,
it's an incredible story.
I won't give away too much. I'll try and remember to pin the book title if you're interested in learning about that. But the combination anyway between coaching staff and players. If you can find that, if you as like an owner, that should be your goal. Find a great coach that you can invest in long term. You can you can be a mentor, you get mentors for that coach, really invest in that coach long term. Then you got to find your key player, your star player, build around. Exactly what TSM have done with Bjergsen, but I don't think they've found their coach.
They never did the coach piece, yeah.
I mean, I just think that they've really screwed up there.
I would say the closest thing we've got there was Coma and Faker.
Coma and Faker was the closest.
I would say, in a way, Grabs and Perks.
I was even thinking, like, reap it a little bit.
Yeah, that's obviously
C9,
ended with C9.
that's gone.
Who would have been the player, though? I feel like it would have been Reapert and Jensen, but Jensen
maybe,
left.
But Jensen's, yeah.
He left
Bit
to
of a
see a
shit
different
show.
thing, yeah. So, yeah, we haven't really seen that, which is interesting.
But that's the key to success, man.
That's where dynasties are
That's where
built.
dynasties are actually built. Because then you've got 2 people in the organization that are influencing people at all times.
All aspects, yeah.
At all aspects. You've got the coach influencing all the other coaching staff, and then you've got the player setting the standard for, the way they go about daily life in day-to-day practice, day-to-day everything. That's the way to really influence, and that's the way to really bring about results in the long term. But anyway, we're talking about how to become. We didn't really even talk about how to become a coach, do we?
I think we've covered enough there, Curdy. I mean, that's
really?
some good inspiration.
No, I want to
there.
get more specific.
Okay, more specific about. Okay,
Like
okay.
if you-
All right, so first, I guess no.
So we've identified what the hell a coach is.
Yeah, I guess we have.
We went a bit of a tangent there. We didn't talk about what someone watching this podcast
Yeah, okay.
could do if they wanted to become a coach.
Okay, well, we said first, ideally be as good as possible in solo queue. Do you have to learn multiple roles, or just one role's fine?
No, I think just one role's fine. But you
Okay.
should just definitely watch a lot of VODs.
Yep.
I still think that you got to work your way up from grassroots.
Yeah, and then you need to align yourself with some sort of amateur team, and then start putting the work. I guess you see it sort of needs.
You got to build relationships with players as well.
I would
by
say
the
it's
way.
very important.
Networking is unbelievably important. You got to build relationships with high elo players. You got to work your way up and get respected within the community, with whatever your region is, and slowly be like, all right, you've done a few games with this team, or a season here, a season there. You maybe go to a higher division, get a bit of experience, keep working your way up.
Yeah, I mean, the only way is word of mouth. That's the only way you're going to rise to the top.
Yeah, the only way you're going to work in the NALCS or the LEC is through networking and word of mouth. And then eventually, and also, do not expect to get paid. You should do every single thing for free. All right? The only way you're going to get a job, in my opinion, in the LEC or the NALCS or even like collegiate, you go up. This is what you do. I'll give you the secret to success. Ready?
This is the gem.
This is exactly
gem
what
from Cody.
Kays did to me.
Yeah.
And the reason this is, I'm not just saying this, Kays was my analyst. Think about this.
We didn't pay him at all.
This is the most crazy storyline ever. Kays was a random analyst from North America. Direwolves in 2017 put out a post saying, we're looking for an analyst to help us, okay? I had about 100, I had like so many...
We had a lot of
I
applications.
had like 100 applications or something to be
Yeah.
an analyst in Direwolves in 2017, because that's when we were a pretty good team. I had a bunch of interviews, and there was one guy that really interested me, was Kays, and he was a remote analyst. He's from North America. We're obviously from Oceania. And it wasn't paid. Free.
Yep.
I didn't even give him the time of day barely. Like, I barely spoke to him. I barely even respected him. I was like a dick, to be honest with you. I said, oh, yeah. Because he
That
kept
was
saying,
all Curtis.
Curtis, you're not playing the game right. This is what you need to do. This shouldn't be working. You're going to get smashed internationally if you do this. Like, he was telling me all these things, right? And then slowly, the players started respecting him more and more, because what he was saying actually started to because he had the opportunity to talk to some of the players and explain some concepts and get a bit... He was learning more, and simultaneously, he was teaching us some things. Then, because he'd done a full year of work with us basically for free, at the end, the payment was we'll take him to Worlds if we qualified.
To Korea.
And to Korea.
No, it was China.
No, it was Korea.
The Korea boot camp and then
Korea
China.
boot camp, and then he came with us to China.
Yeah.
So we brought him with us to Korea for a boot camp, and we scrimmed and did our stuff there.
This was not the Korean boot camp with the food poisoning.
No,
story,
this
by
is
the way.
another Korean boot
That
camp.
was the
we
next
did.
year. Yeah.
Then we went to China with him. We unfortunately got knocked out, but
In the planes.
we got knocked out in the plans. But then what Jack did, incredibly smart, he understands this stuff, is he offered to help Fnatic. He said, hey man, what he actually did was he created a scouting document for teams that Fnatic were versing, sent them to the coaching staff at Fnatic and say,
Well, because the key thing is we're all in proximity of each other.
We're
'Cause
trying
we were in the
already.
hotel. Fnatic were like just a couple of rooms down from us.
yeah, I think he actually proposed them in person.
Yeah, it
didn't
was
he?
approach in person,
And
which
he
is a
said-
great way of building
It's a
network.
very great way. And
That's
then
the best way. It's not just a cold
So
email.
notice this is all free. He hasn't done it. This is all for free.
He got himself into the position to come with us to Worlds to be in proximity of Fnatic.
That's it. All opportunistic.
Yeah.
Then he got it. He over delivered with Fnatic, gave him amazing value, amazing work. He could have just had a holiday in China, relaxed in the hotel, got a massage, whatever. But he worked his ass off, gave Fnatic these scouting reports and said, look, you can use them. You might not use them. Take a look at these. They might help you in your next games. The coaching staff and the players must have really liked it. And then they actually said to him, why don't you just stay here in China with us and help us a little bit longer? Isn't that what they said?
Yep. I mean, there was no official position.
There was no
He
official
still doing
position.
it for free. Yep.
Still free.
Yep.
And he stayed in China for longer and helped Fnatic. And then he went back home after the Fnatic got knocked out or whatever. And then the next season, he got offered a analyst position at Fnatic. worked his way through Fnatic in that year.
I mean, that was 2018. They came second at Worlds.
Came second at Worlds.
He literally came second at Worlds.
He literally came second at Worlds as an analyst.
His first year as a professional analyst.
Which is insane. And then had a great year with them.
Then goes to Team Liquid.
Then goes to because again, this is all word of mouth and him networking, meeting people, learning more from players, building those relationships. Then gets an offer from Team Liquid, for a ridiculous amount of money again.
That split, he
becomes
joins
a head
them.
analyst.
Head analyst, that split, he joins them. They make it to MSI and they come second to MSI.
MSI has more results. Again, more networking. And then he went to Origin, again, because word spread. Everyone wants to work with him. Word goes Origin. Screws up there. And now gets an offer straight away at TSM.
Yeah.
Now works at TSM.
Yeah.
Works at TSM.
Yeah.
All of so a random analyst who
well, you could call us an amateur team.
Basically, when we were like OPL, we're not in NA or anything. He was that desperate to get in and work his way up. He just wanted to learn from anyone. He just wanted an opportunity. Did it for free. That's how. So just to think about that, a random, basically zero.
He had zero connections.
He had zero connections. Barely any experience. Analyst worked with me. Went to Worlds. Fnatic. Liquid, Origin, TSM. And now gets paid a shit ton of money, has an awesome job, travels the world, lives wherever he wants, whatever. How cool is that?
So you recommend people taking that route? So
That's the route. That's what you need to do.
Try and get into.
You need to give stuff for free to show your value. Okay.
Does that include? Let's say, similar to what you and I have done, right? Do they need to start a YouTube channel, and start putting out their work?
That can help.
Publish their work. Somewhere?
They can make a YouTube channel. That's what Path did, didn't he? I'm pretty sure that's how Path got picked up.
Oh yeah,
from
he did.
TSM.
He made a video. Yeah, that's right.
Path actually got picked up from TSM because he made videos, and then TSM really liked him, and then he got picked up. Whether it's YouTube videos, maybe you write extensive Google Docs, slides. Whether using your information from your own experiences.
And he went from coach to now general manager of TSM.
Build relationships, bang, 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 and work your way up. It's a grind. That's a long haul.
But you need to make sure you're in the right place at the right time when that opportunity comes and take that opportunity.
So ties into what I said last episode, remember?
Yeah.
When you get an opportunity, you take it with both hands and run with it.
Even though it might not
be logical
in the short
to
term.
get dick all money for a certain period of time, but this is how people get into those positions.
At the end of the day, you're paid for the level of value you put out in the world. So even if people aren't seeing that value, it will come eventually. Just give it time, and it might take longer than some others. And the worst thing you can do is compare. Okay, now you can compare yourself. Well, I didn't do what K's did, so everyone has their own journey. It could take you an extra 3-4 years.
It might never happen. There's a reality, sad reality in which you never make it.
Well, then you're just not good enough.
You're just not good enough. Because at the end of the day...
If you're good enough, you will eventually be seen. And then...
Eventually, yes.
The better you are at networking, the quicker that will happen. But yes, that's again the way...
But make sure you don't piss people off.
Of course not. You're not burning bridges.
No, what I'm saying is don't come in with an ego. Oh, shit. I think I... touched the chord. We were good.
Okay, I gotta redo the thing.
Wait, can they still hear? Yeah, they can still hear me. Okay.
Keep going.
You have to come in as if I don't know anything. Okay, come in as if I am just here to help you as much as I can.
I don't expect anything in return.
I don't expect anything in return. Your value, what you're getting from it, is learning and watching and listening and being around that person who is in that position. It's like, what's that other, you hear these stories all the time where people's like, I just wanted to get in the room with that guy. And a lot of successful people, they just somehow got an intern position or could just look from a distance or listen to how that guy spoke or the way he did business or whatever it is. And then they learned some things and that allowed him to, move up. So that's the mindset you got to have. I don't know shit. I'm just here to learn and help as much as I can.
Yeah.
With the aim of learning. And then in the long run, keep learning. I'll be able to give more value in which you'll be respected and people will want you to work for them.
Don't worry about your ego. Be very happy to fuck up because you will fuck up.
You're going to screw up so many times.
People might think you're just trash, but then you keep at it. Keep at it. If you're hungry enough, you will eventually... most of the time you'll most likely succeed eventually.
Well, at the end of the day, as sad as it is though, esports, coaching staff-wise, is not a meritocracy.
Right now, yeah.
Right
I'd say,
now it's
I
not.
mean, there's so many stories. Obviously, NA,
It's not.
but you can overthrow that, dude. If you're good enough, you will surpass that. Yes, if you're just average enough, yes, I think you're gonna have a damn hard time getting into the little groups and friendship circles of NA and EU.
You still got to be damn good at networking, in my opinion.
I mean, that helps a lot. Yes, I mean, I would say it's probably, again, we've emphasized the importance of networking. Really important building relationships,
dude, if Kays didn't like in a way suck up to me,
yeah,
then I would have like got rid of him straight away.
Yeah, we wouldn't have probably taken him to Korea.
Yeah, no way.
If it was a bit of like a
he
like a
was
weird guy
egotistical-
or egotistical,
If he was
yeah,
egotistical,
we wouldn't have brought him.
I wouldn't want him to bring
Yeah.
him with me to Korea.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just using you for your brain. You help me for selfish reasons. That's it for me. It was selfish. I want to win.
absolutely.
I'm doing whatever it takes to win. If I have to use you,
If I see you as you can help me, you're on board.
that's it. That's all it is.
Simple.
Because everyone's out there just for their own gain at the end of the day.
Absolutely,
And
especially
you-
in a high competitive environment like esports.
like
League of
esports.
Legends.
I just want to win. I don't give a shit if you get no money. I don't give a shit if you have to sleep on the floor. If you're going to help me win worlds, yes, you can come.
Wait, did Kay sleep on the couch in Korean boot camp? Or
No,
did
he
have
had
a
a
bed?
bed.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
That was when I was sleeping with Jono.
yeah. No, we were in the same room. Me,
Bunk
you,
bed.
and
There was
Jono.
3 people in our room.
Yeah, that's
We were
right.
cramped in this Airbnb, dude. Holy shit. There was like 8 people in that Airbnb.
Yeah, good times.
That was good times though. You remember when I put Jono's suitcase?
Oh yeah, he was so pissed off about that. Literally, he comes in like, "Oh, this is my area, my zone." He comes in, he puts the suitcase in Curtis's room. Curtis doesn't like that. See you later, suitcase. Jono looks at that because Curtis doesn't float. Curtis's he doesn't
Yeah,
like it.
I'm,
Get out.
I can be pretty like, it's not selfish, but like
You're very
narrow-minded.
stubborn in terms
Stubborn,
of that
very
sort of stuff.
stubborn. I'm a very
I don't want that suitcase there. Get it out.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've helped some people there. If that's what I would say.
So you get that question a lot. How do I
do.
become a coach? Like how much?
Well, like, how do I get into the esports scene?
Got it.
Doesn't matter if it's a coach, an analyst, a bloody commentator. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
the same.
I mean,
way.
I'd say yeah, that all
any role,
applies.
social media manager. It's the exact same.
Put out
way.
as much value as possible, network, build relationships, and get good at your craft. Get damn good at your craft. That's number one.
Yeah, same thing.
What's
Dude,
next, Joe? Do
we
you have
haven't
another
spoke
topic?
about Mechanics Max. How long have we been going for?
I honestly think that
You're scared?
I am scared this battery on this thing's dying. I mean, we have been going for about
An hour.
An hour. So, do you have a topic that we can quickly cover? About 10 minutes? Because mechanics. Let's talk about that next time.
Okay, that's a big topic.
Yeah.
God damn, I was really looking forward to that.
We got plenty because we're gonna do 1,000 of these episodes. We're all good, man.
Okay, I got a somewhat small one.
Okay.
Scrims.
Scrim. So this ties into the team stuff.
Scrim stuff. So
Scrims. Okay, how many scrims have you and I watched? Probably, Curtis, in our
in our
careers?
lives,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Give a number.
Okay, let's just do a rough estimate. Let's just say I'm watching 6 a day.
Yeah.
And for 5 days a week, that's 30. Roughly
30 times
30
by
times 4. Or 52 weeks. Okay, 30. But we don't watch every. So the season doesn't go for a whole year. So let's just say there's 10 weeks of a split.
Yep.
And there's 5 days, and there's.
I think you could do.
300,
I reckon you could do at
600.
least 30 weeks of scrim. Actually, I reckon do
you scrimmed before as well.
I reckon 40 weeks of scrims.
Okay, and we're doing how many a week? 30.
So 40 times by 30, that's 1,200, right? Please tell me that's 1,200. Oh my god, do I forget a calculator?
Dude, I'm so bad with
All right, let me do this.
mental arithmetic. But anyway, it would be in, I reckon, around.
Yes, it's 1,200. Okay, so 1,200 a year. All right, let's say 1,000 a year.
Okay, I reckon I've watched around between 3 to 5,000.
Yep.
It'd be in that ballpark,
Yeah.
or in that range, 3 to 5,000 scrims, because we watched scrims for so long, for so many years, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah,
5,000. Think about how many games of that is. Like reviewing. Remember, you're not. These aren't just solo queue games. You just chill out. It's like after you don't review
let's
it.
just say at a conservative figure, 3,500.
3,500. So you've literally intensely thought about draft
Yeah.
and
Probably.
reviewed and thought about 3,500 games. Think about how crazy that is.
That's actually crazy to think about. That's not even including all the VODs that I've watched.
Yeah, that's not even including all the
Dude,
VODs.
the VODs, I've watched probably more VODs than I've had scrims. By far.
Okay, yeah.
I used to watch, ridiculous amount of VODs every single day. But anyway, So where this all stemmed was I was watching the Showmaker interview. So Ashley Kang did an interview with Showmaker for Worlds, and they was talking about scrims, how they usually Damwon are a very good scrim team. They always dominate scrims, even for the past few years. And didn't really get brought up in the interview, but I was reading one of the comments, and one of the comments was talking about how Damwon, before they versed G2 in the quarterfinals last year, it was last year, right? 2019. They went 15-2 versus G2 in scrims, and then G2 destroyed them 3-1 or 3-0. And it always brings back memories how
I
people don't understand.
I would get
Scrims are very
so
interesting.
angry about scrims. So
There's so many things in scrims, so we can talk about scrims for hours.
Scrims, okay, it's the dynamic of way scrims work, okay? So let's just say for that example, that show the DWG versus G2 example, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just think about the way the player's mindset would be, and tell me if this is wrong or right. DWG beats them, what was it, 15-2?
Wait, what? You said that too fast. What did you say?
So, DWG, you said they beat G2 15-2 in scrims last year.
Yeah.
And then G2 beat them in the semis.
In the quarters.
In the quarters.
Like, dominated them.
Okay. So, DWG's perspective. We have beaten G2 in scrims 15-2. That's pretty dominant. That means that we are automatically the better team. G2's perspective. Okay, this team's going to be pretty hard. We've literally tried really hard and they still beat us every single time. Man, like, we're still confident in our ability. Let's just have a crack, but maybe I feel less like we have nothing to lose in a way. Okay, would you say that's the right mindset from both teams? And which one do you think is more dangerous in terms of an actual
I'd say that's
series?
pretty correct. Yeah, I'd say that's quite correct.
That's the way it works.
Scrims does give you confidence.
Yeah.
But there's a few things to this.
No, Scrim's results, okay?
Yeah, Scrim's results.
The win and the loss.
The win and the loss, yeah. It's not actually how it happened.
And this is what
frustrated
frustrated me, because a win and a loss does not necessarily mean good practice. You can scrim with a certain... It's the way you scrim, okay? Let's say they beat them 15-2, but the way they will draft in, because what happens when you start scrimming, even a specific team, or you get into this scrim meta that unfortunately goes sometimes so far away from what actually is going to happen on the day.
From what the game days are going to look like.
That you're playing a different game, and that means all those scrims that practice was useless. Literally useless.
Or the way it sometimes works as well is that the team really wants to win scrims that badly that they'll actually give away their strategy.
That too as
that
well.
happens because it's like a confidence thing. It's like, no, let me play this. Trust me. Like, cause I just want to win the scrims that badly. Like, it becomes an ego thing nearly. Then they give away a lot of their strategy. And G2 probably like, well, cool. We know a lot about Damwon now.
This is what we're doing.
Well, that's
now.
the way they play the game. Okay, I understand now generally how they win games. Like, okay, this is maybe how we should navigate it when we verse them on stage. That as well. And we know players play so differently on stage, and teams play so differently on stage versus in scrims.
And why is that, Curtis? Why do you think that is? Because you have nothing to lose. You don't have the crowd, the heat, the pressure.
Well, you're not... Okay, this has always infuriated me about scrims, man. This is actually probably one of my biggest pet peeves about scrims. The way a lane matchup will go, or a game will go in terms of game pace in scrims, is never the same as it is on stage.
So you're saying it's slower or faster?
It's so much slower on stage every single time.
And scrims are faster because people take fights.
People, they're less caring, I guess, so they just like kind of...
Limit test.
Limit test. They're willing to take very aggressive trades when they shouldn't, or they take these risky plays. People, again, they're not afraid to execute dives, and they're actually playing at their best because there's no pressure. And they're on their computer, in their room, in their setup. They're very comfortable.
They're not on the stage with the ref behind them. Their mouse isn't working. Their settings are messed up. Like that plays into it again.
There's so many factors, and then the crazy thing is, it's like, oh yeah, maybe because then what happens? The trading is not as heavy, right? So what happens? People are higher HP. So then you see a lot of champs like Elise, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, and scrims that dominate, and like you get into these really stompy games. And that's why in scrims, it's usually like 15, 20-minute wins either way. But on stage...
It's Lee Sin into Sejuani.
It's Lee Sin into Sejuani.
Lee Sin has no opportunities to gank.
And then all the lanes are like full HP and not heavy trading.
And Sejuani just scaling.
And then whoops, Sejuani's just got 2 full clears off, and GG, That happened. That has happened so many times. It drives me up the absolute wall. And then you always say, guys, we've got to increase the intensity of scrims and play like we would. But it doesn't matter how much you say that. It's just different. It's different.
At the end of the day, you're training. All right, so again, think about it. You're playing, what do we say, 30 scrims a week?
Didn't we try to have a rule in Direwolves? Practice as we
What's
play.
what we always try. I think that's the way you have to
We said
get
that so many times. Like, practice now, the way we're going to play now is how we're going to play on stage. I said that a trillion times.
Now, didn't what we started to do? We started to try and make the game day schedule as close as possible to the scrim schedule in terms of the hours, the time of the day, the meal that you ate before.
Yeah, we tried to get the players to literally feel exactly the same as they would heading on stage. Yeah, and do the exact same thing. So what you would do as before you head onto stage should be what you do before you scrimmed. What you ate, you shouldn't eat something random. You shouldn't do something random. Like if you're on game day getting like McDonald's every time, or like having like this weird crazy meal and you're not warming up or whatever it is, but when you scrim and playing your best, you're like having a certain breakfast and then you're playing 2 practice matches and you're doing this. No, if that's what you're doing in scrims, in practice, that's what you got to do again. That's what you got to do on game day. There's no changing.
I never think we did a good job of that. I mean, we tried.
But it was never good. It was never perfect.
Because again, you're playing 30 games of scrims and at the end of the day, you're playing what? I mean, if we talk about Worlds, it's like best of 3 or just one game.
One game.
It's so different.
So much pressure.
It's so different, you know?
And the whole environment's different. It's like you hear the crowd a lot of the time. There's like this big stage. There's lights, camera action. You're like in your head. There's so many things.
What happens if I win this? What happens if I lose this?
And the crazy thing is the build up to the game is so long. Because you have to sit in the green room. You have to get your passes. You have to like go through all these scanners. You have to
might bump into your opposition.
You see your opposition and then they have to scan all your equipment. You have to like get your settings changed on stage. Like there's all these things that you're just never doing in scrims. And especially at China right now in Worlds, all the players are scrimming from their comfy little hotel rooms. The nice little PC, the nice little setup, it's very comfortable. They get straight out of bed into the game. It's going to be completely different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, there actually is no crowd at all, right? So they come on stage.
That is quite good, yeah.
I guess it probably, maybe this Worlds will have the best Worlds ever because everyone will be playing at their best because everyone will be more comfortable.
And remember we used to have that thing, Scrim Win?
Scrim Win, yeah.
So we had like a chant. A chant.
Scrim Win.
In Direwolves.
Which is really bad, isn't it? Again, you can't be tying the quality of practice to wins and losses.
Didn't we like lose a lot of scrims before we won the grand final one year?
Yeah, one of the years.
One of the years we lost every scrim in the lead up to the grand final. And then we dominated. How'd that work? How's that work?
I don't know, but
God help me, man.
But I think that the worst thing you can do is again tie your confidence to wins and the results of the win and the loss at the end of the game. Go back to the fundamentals, the game plan, the strategy. What can I have learned? That's where your confidence needs to come from.
Confidence has to come from the specifics in the game.
Specifics in the game and knowing that I outworked this person or I've been through more than this person. So, I mean, this is just me. I'm just a beast at this game, you know? Or I visualize me doing certain things in the game that will beat you. That's where confidence comes from. It's like the perfect example, and you talked about this in your video about we were so confident in our strategy. Game 1, 2017 versus Chiefs, Legacy, Sherm playing Ivan, we dive bot, right? Yeah. We knew that was...
We visualized
that play, that specific play again and again.
He knew exactly what was going to happen, and it worked.
That's where confidence comes from, and we dominated that game.
You know what's interesting? It was like, if you are very good at... I know you talk about visualization with your coaching clients. Yeah. Visualization is one of the most important tools, in my opinion. Like,
do you know why it's so important? Because your brain's actually very bad at distinguishing between reality and like your dreams or what's not real.
If you're very good at visualization.
If you're very good at visualization, this is I briefly touched on this. This is what Conor McGregor was so good at, because Conor McGregor, he was a nobody, right? Absolute nobody, but he was talking in the way he already had the belts on him. He already won 145, 155, double champ. But the only way you can get that confidence, that through constant visualization, telling yourself, I'm already this, I'm already this, I'm already this. But you also need to be acting that way. I mean, he was still putting in the hours in the gym. He was confident that he was working harder than every other athlete, and he was doing things differently, very differently. The way his movement, he had the movement coach and all that sort of stuff. That's where his confidence came from. It wasn't coming from, I don't know, results from sparring or something like that. It was confidence in, this is me. I will beat Jose Aldo in, third. He's gonna throw this certain punch, and I'm going to do that. And that's how he beat him in 13 seconds, which is one of the greatest moments in UFC history, right? Visualization. He visualized all that.
Yeah, there's like a quote or something. It's like, if you can visualize something very well, the brain can't even tell between the difference between reality and that visualization.
Yeah.
So you can actually train without even training in a way.
Exactly right. Yes, that's the power of the mind.
That's the power of the mind. You can train without even training.
And it's I think it's hard for people to grasp.
It is,
unless they have done it before, because people,
it sounds so weird. It's like what are you talking about?
It's like the law of attraction. This is what something with self-help and
yeah.
stuff. It's like, well, if you think it, you'll be it. It's like, at the end of the day, like,
no, but yes,
someone with, let's say, very bad circumstances. Let's say some kid in China who doesn't have, in Africa, who doesn't have parents and is like, starving. Like, you don't just think and water appears, So it's.
But I do believe to a certain extent, the effect, like there is a lot of power in visualizing what you're trying to achieve, and in my opinion, again, it's just utilizing your time as well. Like, think about it. You're training or you're thinking or you're visualizing when other people are sleeping or like thinking about something else, or like that's going to give you an edge. That's what gave Shern an edge.
Yeah. Oh, he was only thinking about the game.
Only
always
thinking about the game.
Me lifting up the trophy at the end of the split. Me literally on that plane to China or Korea for that boot camp. And then once you start thinking that way, you start acting like I'm already there.
Well, you know what people always say? They always say, but it's so painful. Because if I fail, my pain is going to be so intense.
But you can't ever.
Yeah, you can't ever think that. But that's just a reality. You got to accept reality.
Yeah,
that is the cost.
That's the cost.
That's the price of admission.
Yeah.
If you want to be an elite at anything, that's the price. I could say right now in my mind, I'm going to be this millionaire, whatever it is, and if I fail and I'm like homeless on the streets, that's the cost. That's just the price. Like I would rather play that game and pay that price on the back end if it doesn't work out. But you can't think like that. You can't
play that game with the visualization, that you're going to be a millionaire or something like that, right?
I would rather do that because I know that it's going to dictate my behavior. It's going to influence my thought. It's going to influence my everything about you.
The day to day. Remember the specific second in that day on that Monday, even though that event's like 3 months away. Everything happens. You got to be present.
What people forget about is like they always think this person. What all that matters is you showing up on that day. I don't think that. I think that's an element of it. But what I believe is what matters is how you are acting on a Monday morning.
Yeah, Monday. I love Monday morning.
What are you
doing
on
a Monday morning?
What are you doing? How if I were to see a little camera on what you were doing at 12 p.m. on a Monday, 11 a.m. on a Monday morning. That is where champions are made.
Yeah.
That is where the best players.
I would even say 11 p.m. on the Monday or 10 p.m.
Even 10 p.m. on a Monday night. What are they doing?
What are they doing that's going to help them get to that visualization, that 3 months?
That is the best. That is what the most important
If that person at 10 p.m., let's say 11 a.m. watching some sort of Twitch stream, you're trying to be like a world champion, some like random Twitch stream, and 10 p.m. you're watching Netflix.
Yep.
Just looking at those two actions, again,
it's not a massive deal, but we're talking. It's again the opportunity. It's like the same with the conversations. It's what you may be missing out on.
Maybe that you missed a game where you actually did something. You had some scenario that came at play that helps you in a game, a grand final sometime.
Crazy to think. The power of the mind, man. It always amazes me, the power of the mind.
We'll talk. We love the mind, don't we? We'll talk a lot about that.
Master the mind. That's my goal, to control my emotions and master my mind.
Absolutely. I think that's what we're all striving for.
So yeah, we should probably wrap it up because we need to charge this battery here.
We got to get new batteries for this, but we've survived.
How long has this been? It's maybe like an hour and 15 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
Anyways, we're happy to wrap up.
Good
episode.
hustle.
Is this number 4? This is
number
episode 4.
Yeah. Good hustle.
I still got to get it on Apple Music. People have been telling me this. I'm going to definitely do that before
you're a
next
tech
time.
guy.
I know,
it's not my
bad.
responsibility.
It's like Apple Podcasts or something like that. Some people only use that. It's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, I'll sort
Apple
it out.
fanboys out there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching episode 4 of Broken
you.
by Concept.
Hope you enjoyed. And I'll try and remember to put that book title.
Yeah, please put a pin in the comment.
It's on my Kindle.
Yeah, you'll find it after. Just go
damn it.
find it after.
All right.
Thanks for listening or watching on YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.